I'm Dr. Caelum Derux, and this is Psychax, Better Living Through Psychology. Today's talk is about something most men have never been taught, not by their fathers, not by their friends, and certainly not by the culture. It's about screening women. Now, if you're the kind of man who's always been told that the key to success in relationships is just to be kind, consistent, and available, this idea may feel foreign, even harsh. But let me be clear, screening is not cruelty, it's discernment. It's the mature masculine understanding that not every woman you desire is worthy of your commitment. Because here's the cold truth, women are constantly screening men. From the first glance, they're evaluating your energy, your posture, your resources, your ambition, your confidence, your emotional control, and they don't apologize for it, nor should they. It's biological, it's strategic, it's survival. So the question is, why aren't you doing the same? Why aren't you screening them? Most men don't screen because they're operating from scarcity. They believe quality women are rare, that love is hard to find, that if a woman is beautiful and shows interest, she must be the one. And this illusion, this desperation masquerading as romance, is what sets them up for pain. You see, when you don't screen a woman, you give her instant access to your time, your energy, your heart. You treat her beauty like it's a personality trait. You overlook red flags because your need for connection is stronger than your standards. But here's the masculine truth. She should earn you, not through games, not through manipulation, but through reveal, through how she behaves, especially when things aren't going her way. Because that's when you see the real her. You don't truly know a woman until you've told her no, until you've disagreed with her, until you've disappointed her. That's when her mask drops, and that's when your screening begins. The first and most important screen is how she handles boundaries. A woman's response to your no is more revealing than all her pretty words. Tell her you can't talk right now because you're working. Tell her you won't cancel plans with your friends because she had a last-minute change of mood. Tell her you don't feel comfortable with her texting her ex. Watch what happens. Does she sulk, guilt trip you, argue with you, try to manipulate you emotionally? Or does she respect your space, even when it's inconvenient for her? A woman who respects your boundaries is a woman who understands masculine leadership. She doesn't need to like your decisions, but she honors your right to make them. And if she doesn't, if she tests your no and punishes your assertiveness, that's not passion, that's control in disguise. And if you don't screen her there, at the doorway of your backbone, you'll be handing over the keys to your life before you even know who she really is. Another essential test is emotional maturity. And no, I don't mean whether she reads self-help books or says the right things when she's calm. I mean how she handles stress, conflict, jealousy, disappointment. A high-value woman doesn't implode or explode, she communicates. She asks questions. She seeks understanding without making everything about her wounds. But an emotionally immature woman, she'll weaponize her pain. She'll make you the villain in every disagreement. She'll make you walk on eggshells just to keep the peace. And the tragedy is that many men stay with these women, not because they admire the chaos, but because they think they can fix it. Brother, let me be very clear. You are not her therapist. You are not her savior. You are not her emotional janitor. If she hasn't done the work to regulate herself, if she's addicted to drama, she will poison your peace. So ask yourself, can I be myself around her when I'm not catering to her feelings? That's the only test that matters. One of the most overlooked yet crucial screens is how she treats people who can't offer her anything. Watch how she interacts with waiters, cleaners, strangers, animals. Is she kind when no one's watching? Is she respectful without being performative? Or is her kindness selective, reserved only for those who benefit her? This reveals more than you can imagine, because how a woman treats the powerless reflects what she truly believes about power. And if she only plays nice with people who elevate her status, what do you think she'll do to you once you're no longer useful? Character is not built in romantic moments, it's revealed in everyday ones, so pay attention. The way she talks about her exes, the way she reacts to setbacks, the way she gossips or celebrates other women. These things matter, because you're not just dating a face, you're choosing a future, and if you fail to screen her character, you're signing up for suffering that's been dressed in perfume and good lighting. Let's move beyond the superficial. Beauty, style, sex appeal, and talk about what really lasts: values. Most men don't screen women for values because they've never identified their own. So they date based on attraction, chemistry, convenience, and wake up years later in emotional ruin, wondering how it all fell apart. Here's the truth: you don't attract what you want, you attract what you allow. So ask her the real questions. Not what do you do for fun, but what do you stand for? What does she believe about loyalty, about ambition, about personal growth? How does she view family, money, long-term vision? What's her relationship with discipline, faith, failure? These are not just deep conversations, they're filters. And if you don't use them early, you'll spend years discovering that the woman you fell for at the surface level has nothing in common with your future. Don't just look for compatibility, screen for alignment, because chemistry fades. But shared values, they build empires. Another powerful but subtle screen is her response to your purpose. Every high-value man has a mission, a direction, a path that pulls him forward, often with intensity, and not every woman can handle that. Some women love the idea of an ambitious man until they realize that ambition comes with sacrifice. You'll be less available, you'll say no more often, you'll prioritize your vision over her temporary needs. So watch how she reacts to your goals. Does she support them, encourage them? Or does she start to pull you off track with guilt, distraction, emotional neediness? A woman who resents your purpose will never respect your leadership. She may pretend to support you, but underneath, she's trying to slow you down. Why? Because your growth threatens her control. And if you don't screen for that, if you compromise your mission to keep her comfortable, you will lose both, your edge and your respect. A real queen walks beside your purpose. She doesn't try to replace it. Now let's talk about sexual energy. Most men are so driven by lust, they forget that sexuality is a screen, not just a reward. How a woman uses her sexuality tells you everything about how she sees her own worth and yours. Is she seductive but grounded? Is she flirtatious yet selective? Or is she reckless, impulsive, and transactional with her body? And more importantly, does she try to use sex as a way to gain leverage over you? Does she withhold affection when she's upset, or use physical closeness to bypass difficult conversations? These are not random behaviors, they're power plays. And if you're not paying attention, you'll be controlled by desire instead of clarity. The truth is, a woman's relationship with sex mirrors her relationship with power. And your job is not to shame her, it's to observe her, to discern. Because intimacy should never be the price of peace. And a woman who weaponizes her body doesn't want connection, she wants control. Test her through restraint. See how she handles your patience. That's where the truth lives. You also need to screen how a woman responds to challenge. Most men avoid conflict early on because they fear losing the connection, but a woman who cannot handle disagreement without turning it into war is not a woman you can build with. Conflict is inevitable. Disagreements are natural, but how she handles that friction, how she listens, how she expresses herself, how she processes, that's the difference between drama and depth. A woman with emotional strength will not crumble under a difficult conversation. She'll rise with grace, she'll meet you in the tension, and she'll build with you. But a woman ruled by her wounds will weaponize disagreement. She'll project, she'll stonewall, she'll punish you for not agreeing with her worldview. And if you don't screen for that, you'll end up in a relationship where your voice only matters when it mirrors hers. Challenge her early, not to provoke, but to reveal. Because nothing tests character like the heat of discomfort, and only the real ones survive it. One of the deepest and most important screens is this: how does she respond to your standards? Because the second you express them, especially if they conflict with hers, you'll see her true orientation. Is she open, curious? Does she respect the difference and seek to understand? Or does she shame you, call you controlling, outdated, toxic? A woman who cannot respect your standards cannot respect you, period. And far too many men abandon their non-negotiables just to make it work. They bend, they apologize for having preferences. They dilute their masculinity in the name of compromise. And over time, that erosion creates resentment, not just towards her, but towards themselves. Your standards are not optional, they're sacred. They are the lines that define your kingdom. And any woman who tries to cross them, mock them, or change them is not your queen. She's a test. one you were meant to pass by walking away. Most men think testing a woman means setting traps, creating artificial scenarios to see how she reacts. That's not real masculinity. That's manipulation. A true man doesn't need to force revelation. He simply creates space and observes. The power of masculine discernment lies in stillness. You don't need to question her every move, stalk her social media, or interrogate her intentions. You just need to stop performing. When you stop trying to win her, stop trying to impress her, stop trying to anticipate her needs before she speaks them, you create silence, and in that silence, her true nature surfaces. Will she fill it with respect or resentment? Will she rise to meet your presence or shrink from your lack of validation? This is the hidden power of being non-reactive. The man who does not chase, who is not afraid to lose, who sits in his own gravity, reveals the truth in every woman who encounters him. Not through force, but through absence. Another powerful screen is how she handles your vulnerability. I'm not talking about emotional dumping or endless stories of trauma. I mean the kind of masculine vulnerability that says, here's what I fear, here's what I want, here's what I'm still working on. Some women will hear that and instantly feel safer because they see your humanity without mistaking it for weakness. Others will feel threatened by it. They'll use your openness as a way to diminish your strength. They'll recall your vulnerable moments in future arguments, throw your pain back in your face, or lose respect entirely. That's when you know you were never with a woman. You were with a mirror for her own unresolved pain. And brother, if you can't be vulnerable with the woman you're building with, you're not building, you're posing. So test her early, reveal something real, then watch. Does she lean in, or does she flinch? The answer doesn't lie in her words. It lies in what she does with your truth. One of the most dangerous mistakes a man can make is confusing compliance with compatibility. Just because she goes along with your plan, agrees with your vision, or mirrors your opinions, doesn't mean she's the right fit. It could mean she's adapting to secure you, not showing you who she truly is. That's why you must test for authenticity. Give her space to disagree. Encourage her to speak her truth, even if it clashes with yours. Watch what emerges when she's not performing. Because a woman who hides her real self to gain your approval is not being kind, she's being strategic. And the moment you drop your guard, that real self will surface. Ask questions that challenge her comfort. Stay calm when she pushes back. Observe how she manages her own expression. Authentic women aren't perfect, but they're real. And if you can't see the raw edges early, you'll end up blindsided later by a stranger you thought you knew. Let's talk about ambition, not just yours, but hers. What does she want out of life? How does she handle failure? Does she take responsibility for her growth, or is she always blaming external circumstances? A woman with healthy ambition doesn't need to match your empire, but she needs to build something, a career, a craft, a legacy, a family, something that pulls her forward. Because women without direction often become addicted to your light. They orbit your mission, not because they love you, but because they don't have one. And when that happens, every time you rise, she feels left behind. That leads to sabotage, emotional manipulation, covert resistance. So screen for her self-respect. Not just how she looks, but how she moves through the world. What does she value? What does she build? Who is she when you're not around? If she has no inner world, no passion, no fire, she will try to consume yours. Don't let her. Love a woman who burns beside you, not one who burns because of you. Perhaps the most subtle test of all is how she handles delayed gratification. Give her access to your presence, not your commitment. Give her moments of connection, not a permanent seat at your table. See how she handles the slow build. Does she try to rush things, lock you down? Does she start pressing for titles, timelines, validation? Or does she breathe through the uncertainty, trusting the process? A woman who cannot wait, cannot weigh. She won't discern your value, she'll try to claim it. But a woman who's secure, who knows her own worth, who respects the unfolding of masculine time, that woman is rare. She won't chase, she won't push, she'll match your pace. And that's when you know, this isn't about games. This is about energy. Patience reveals everything. The woman who can't sit in mystery will never thrive in depth. So don't fear taking your time. The right woman will wait in grace. The wrong one will rage in silence. One of the greatest signals of a woman's long-term worth isn't found in her beauty, her charm, or even how much she says she cares. It's in how she handles freedom. A man who operates from strength does not seek to control his woman. He doesn't check her phone. He doesn't need to know her location every second of the day. He doesn't issue ultimatums or operate from paranoia. Why? Because real masculine power isn't afraid of what she'll do with her freedom. It watches what she does with it. A high-value woman respects a man's trust by protecting it. Not because she's being watched, but because she respects the bond. But a woman who feels unleashed when she's given space, who starts slipping into disrespect the moment you're not monitoring her, that woman was never grounded in you. She was controlled by circumstance. So test her with freedom, give her the leash, and see if she runs wild or walks beside you. Because a woman who honors you in freedom is worth keeping, and one who disrespects you in your absence was never really yours. There's a moment in every relationship when the fantasy fades, when the high of newness wears off, and the truth begins to settle. That's when the real test begins. Will she still respect you when you're not impressing her every day? Will she still speak kindly when things aren't exciting or romantic? Or will she begin to withdraw affection, create drama, or seek attention elsewhere? Too many men overlook these shifts, believing that every downturn in intimacy is just normal relationship stuff. But often, it's not. It's an exposure of character. The way a woman treats you in the plateau matters more than how she treats you in the peak. Can she remain soft when you're busy? Can she remain loyal when you're unavailable? Can she remain graceful when life isn't catering to her emotional needs? This is where the screening deepens, not in the good times, but in the boring ones. Because if she cannot thrive in the everyday, she will never survive the storms. And those storms always come. The emotional landscape of a relationship is shaped by what both people permit. If she brings chaos and you allow it, you're not dating, you're enabling. If she gossips and you laugh along, you're not connecting, you're compromising. If she crosses a line and you avoid addressing it to keep the peace, you're not strong, you're scared. And that fear will cost you your foundation. Men don't lose power in one blow, they lose it in 1,000 silent retreats. A comment you ignored, a disrespect you tolerated, a value you abandoned, and suddenly the man you were is buried under the man you became to keep her. Screening isn't just about observing her, it's about guarding yourself. It's not about paranoia, it's about principle. Because every woman will push in small ways, not because she's toxic, but because she's testing the structure. And if your boundaries collapse at the first push, you've shown her that your kingdom has no walls, and kingdoms without walls get conquered. Sometimes the best test isn't a question, it's absence. Pull back, not out of punishment, but out of presence. Let space do what words can't. Will she panic? Will she assume the worst? Will she project insecurity or respond with maturity? See, distance reveals attachment style, emotional resilience, and the depth of her self-worth. A woman rooted in herself won't spiral when you take time for your mission. She won't assume rejection in your silence. She'll honor your space without demanding an explanation. But a woman who is addicted to constant reassurance will fill that silence with doubt, accusations, and drama. This is why masculine energy values solitude. It's not just about recharge, it's about reveal. Let your stillness speak, let your distance be a mirror, and watch. Because a woman's true emotional stability isn't seen when she's next to you, it's seen when she's without you. And if she can't stay grounded alone, she'll never be a partner, only a passenger. Lastly, never forget to test her with truth. Speak honestly, not brutally, but boldly. Tell her who you are, what you want, what you won't tolerate, then watch. Because truth, more than anything, is the ultimate filter. A woman who is truly aligned with you will not run from your truth. She will meet it. She may not agree with all of it. She may ask questions. She may need time, but she won't shame you. She won't try to rewrite you. She won't flinch at your fire. And if she does, if your truth is too much for her, let her walk. Because a man's greatest power in love is not his charm, not his looks, not his success. It's his willingness to lose anyone who doesn't respect his truth. And when you live like that, you don't chase women, you choose them from a place of strength, of clarity, of freedom. And that, my brother, is how kings build, not on hope, not on lust, not on fantasy, but on truth. There's a deep mistake men make when it comes to women. They assume they need to be chosen. They spend years chasing validation, approval, and love, thinking that if they're good enough, she'll stay. But here's the truth. The man who is obsessed with being chosen is never in a position to choose, and that is where your power dies, in the surrender of selection. When you stop being the interviewer and become the applicant, you lower your frame. You hand her the pen and beg to be written into her story. But a high-value man doesn't audition for affection. He doesn't perform for belonging. He stands in his essence, his truth, his clarity, and decides who gets access. That's what screening is. It's not arrogance, it's responsibility. Because who you give your time to will shape your energy. Who you give your heart to will define your future. And if you don't screen her, life will do it for you, painfully and without mercy. Screening is not cold, it's not cruel, it's sacred. Because your peace is sacred. Your vision is sacred, your mission is sacred. And not every woman gets to walk beside a man who is on fire. That's the masculine truth most men avoid, that your life is a fortress, and not every smiling face is worthy of a key. You don't let her in because she's pretty. You don't let her in because she compliments you. You let her in because she proves herself over time, through her values, her stability, her character, and her ability to match your energy with her own groundedness. Anything less, and you're not in love, you're in submission. You're handing the steering wheel to someone you haven't vetted, and when the car crashes, and it will, you'll blame her. But the truth is, you were the one who didn't check her license before giving her the keys, and that's on you. Here's the paradox most men miss. The more you screen her, the more she wants to be chosen by you. Why? Because in a world of men who hand over their soul at the sight of beauty, a man with standards is rare. A man who is not impressed by surface, who doesn't fumble his purpose to chase a woman, who observes instead of obsesses, that man is unforgettable. Women don't crave control, they crave containment, not in a limiting way, but in the form of strength, direction, integrity. Women want to feel you, not just through touch, but through conviction. And when you test her with presence, not manipulation, she senses your depth. She sees that you're not desperate, that you're not available to everyone, that your energy is a privilege. And that creates the one thing that no compliment, no gift, no charm can ever buy: respect. You earn her soul when you stop handing her your spine. So here's the truth, brother. Testing her isn't about games, it's about guarding the gate. Because if you fail to screen, you will attract chaos wrapped in beauty. You will fall in love with someone's potential and wake up years later in a war you don't remember starting. You will lose your fire, your clarity, your direction, not because women are evil, but because you failed to filter. You let lust drive what wisdom should have controlled. But once you learn to test, gently, consistently, wisely, everything changes. You no longer fear rejection because you're also rejecting. You no longer fear loneliness because you know peace is better than performance. And you no longer need to be chosen because you know that you're the chooser. And from that place, you'll attract women who aren't just pretty, but who are worthy, not of your money, not of your time, but of your soul. Let this be your reminder. You don't need every woman to like you. You don't need every woman to stay. You need one woman, one who respects your boundaries, honors your purpose, complements your energy, and adds peace to your life. And to find her, you must test, not because you're judging, but because you're leading. Because the man who does not lead his relationship will be led by it. And that path ends in resentment, regret, and collapse. So hold the frame, ask the hard questions, stand on your standards, be willing to walk away, not to punish, but to preserve your peace. Because the man who tests with wisdom will never fear the result. He's not looking for perfect, he's looking for aligned. And when you find that, when the screening is over, and she stands beside you, not because you begged her, but because she passed, you'll know. You didn't just find a woman, you found a partner, a queen, a mirror for your greatness, and the empire begins.